Welcome to another episode of our personal empowerment audio series, Finding Yourself in Paradise. Hi, I'm Michael Benner.
And I'm Steve Snyder, and this is our middle bit of a three-part mini-series on what you want. We started with an episode on why you want what you want. This is going to be about what do you do when you do know what you want, and we'll conclude with what do you do when you haven't got the slightest idea what you want.
Steve and I had a conversation that's been years ago now where we were trying to figure out the limitations that we impose on ourselves when we define a problem. Sometimes we have problems and they feel like problems, but we're really not sure why they're problems. And what I found myself doing was asking the question, what are you going to do? What do you think you should do? Or maybe asking for help by saying, well, what do you think I should do? Or what do you want me to do about it? I don't know what to do. And then one day, as part of the process, Steve and I brainstorming this, I said, well, maybe what we should be doing is asking ourselves, do I know what I want? Instead of what do I do? What do you think I should do? What do you want me to do about it? All of these action-oriented questions. Hey, do we even have an outcome in mind to begin with? Would we know a solution if it was right in front of us?
It's like trying to come up with the tactics without having a strategy. It's like trying to drive somewhere without knowing where the destination is. If you don't know what to do, well, clearly it's really important to find out if you know what you want, because if you do know what you want, what to do becomes obvious. Do something you need to do to move toward getting what you want. It's when you don't know what you want and you ask yourself, what do I do? How could you know what to do? How could you know what direction to take a step if you didn't have a destination in mind? So it's real important whenever the question, what do I do, comes up, you stop and you say, do I know what I want? Because if you know what you want and you can get real clear on what you want, then what to do appears as a totally different question in the context. It now is, what step do I take toward what I want?
Now, let me say, this is simple enough, but a lot of people find it difficult. What is that saying? Simple but not easy. So if this sounds like Jabberwocky already, slow down, take a breath. This is not that complicated, and it can really change your life. Steve and I are arguing in this three-part mini-series that there are really only two kinds of problems, and to discern whether a problem is of the one kind or the other. And of course, there's in-betweens, there's variations and permutations. There's got to be a third kind somewhere in the middle. We'll talk about that. We'll get to that. But to begin to approach problem solving with simple bifurcation, you're either with us or against us, right? Black or white, shoot first, ask questions later. Do I know what I want? Helps you to decide which of the two kinds of problems you have. Is it the kind of problem where, yeah, I do know what I want, and as Steve says, now we begin to move toward it. You may not know all the elements, but you're moving toward a desired goal or solution or a result or outcome. Well, then, the only other kind of problem in the most basic sense would be, no, I have no idea what I want. That's why I don't know what to do. I don't know what I want. I wouldn't know that, the solution might be right in front of me, and I might not even recognize it.
So we want to take a look at the problem today that I do know what I want, but I don't know how to get it. Because if you do know what you want and you do know how to get it, you don't have a problem, you're just lazy. If you do know what you want and you do know how to get it, go get it. What we're talking about is I do know what I want. At least I have a vague notion. At least I have a pretty good idea of what I want, and I want to know how to move in that direction. I want to know how to get it. Now, this is an important distinction because a lot of people think they know what they want, but you can't really think you know what you want, because what you want is not a logical thought. What you want is an emotional experience. Want is a desire, as an emotion, it's a feeling. So people say I know what I want. I want to be happy, or I want to be successful. Well, that's not a goal. That's not, happy is a experience you have on the way to a goal. Successful is something you experience on the way to something, but those aren't destinations. You don't get to happy and stay there. You don't do happy, you be happy. So a lot of people think, oh yeah, I have a goal. I want to be happy. I want to be successful. I want to be rich. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about having a bullseye, something exactly what you're pointing at. You may not hit the bullseye, but certainly certainly it makes no sense to aim at anything other than the bullseye.
That's a great point. There's even a saying about shooting for the broad side of the barn. And okay, you hit the broad side of the barn, but it's not very rewarding or satisfying until somebody goes over and puts a few concentric circles on the broad side of the barn and says, now shoot for the center. All of your scores are going to be better. You may never hit the exact bull right in the middle, but that's where the happiness comes from, having a specific and detailed goal. Put a target, put a bullseye on that vague notion of what you want. That's what we're going to talk about today in this part 2. You have that type of problem where you know the outcome, but you got to put a bullseye on it. We're not going to settle for the broad side of the barn.
So you may say, yeah, I know exactly what I want. Someone might say, I want to win a gold medal in the Olympics, okay? Well, that's a real specific goal. I mean, there's no mistaking you've done that or you haven't done that. But that's the bullseye. That's the target. That's the exact center of the bullseye. The desired outcome is to become the very, very, very best you could possibly be at that particular sport. That's what you're shooting for. You want to have a target so you can aim, but it doesn't really matter. Only one person in the whole world in 4 years is going to actually hit that Olympic gold medal winner. The idea is what you want is to know that's what I'm shooting at so I can become the very, very, very best. That's it. It's within me to become.
You know, that's so important, Steve. Even outside of the Olympics and sports in general, the idea that success in our lives, in terms of the amount of money that we make or the status or prestige that we get, it's really symbolic of what we're really going for, which is the feeling of accomplishment. To pile up money and stuff is not much of an accomplishment because there's all this insecurity about losing the money and losing the stuff and holding on to it. It seems that all of that is just a way of, as you've said, creating a bullseye or a target that allows us to be the best that we can be. And if at the end of the day, at the end of the month, at the end of a given year, you say, wow, what a great run, you know, I didn't attain all of my goals, but at least by setting goals, I improved my performance. And if that continues to unfold, well, that's a dynamic concept of success rather than success is some distinct place.
And so the idea of choosing like the Olympic gold medal or to be the world's greatest husband. I mean, that's one of mine. To be the world's greatest. Now, I know the odds of actually achieving that as a target, hitting that target is like, yeah, it ain't going to happen. But
how would you know?
Yeah, well,
your wife would have to tell you.
My wife and I get the only 2 votes. That's for sure. Nobody else has any say in that one. But it's feeling like I'm on that road. That's where the joy comes from. And here's the biggest problem that most people have. If they do know what they want, I think the biggest problem is people don't know what they want. But we'll get to that next week. If people do know what they want, the biggest problem people have, I think, is they say, "What's the use of thinking about that? Even thinking about that because I don't know how to get there." So it's like silly, it's dreamy, it's like it's going off into never land. It's not being practical to imagine, like, if even I know exactly what I want, what's the point in spending any time out there because I'm never going to actually get there. That's the problem. What people need to understand again is that's the bullseye, and all you want to do is get as close to it as you can. You don't have to hit it. You want to get to as close to it as you can. That's the game of life, is to get to as close to exactly what you want as you can. And then to know that you don't need to know the steps from here to there to begin the journey. That's the biggest part. Most people think, once I figure out how to get there, then I'll start the journey. And you don't have to do that. You used the metaphor in one of the earliest shows of you can drive all the way from Los Angeles to New York City. If you drive at night with your headlights only seeing like 50 or 100 feet ahead again, that's all you ever see. You don't have to see the exact path. All you have to know is that when there's this turn that says Denver and this turn, you go the right way. Bottom line is that's the way life works. You don't have to have all of it figured out. What you need to know is 2 things, really, exactly what you want, even though the odds of getting it are really unlikely. I mean, virtually impossible is what you want to shoot for. Not impossible. Like if everything fell together in my life and everybody else's life, why would you aim for anything less than the ultimate, perfect, most unlikely but possible outcome. That's what you want to. It's a winning the lottery kind of idea. It's like if it turns out the best possible, that's honing in on exactly what I want to give the universe or your mind the idea of that's the direction I want to go. Doesn't matter if I exactly get there. That's the direction I want to go.
I think it's also important to point out here, Steve, that avoiding what we don't want is not a goal.
No. But that's what a lot of people spend their lives doing.
There's a lot of negatives in that sentence. But, yeah, many people do spend a lot of their lives responding to the fact that they may not know exactly what they want, or they're afraid to risk moving toward what they think they really want by just simply avoiding what they don't want. Well, get this visual in your mind's eye. You're sitting in the middle of a circle, and the circle around you represents all the different directions you could go in. One of, 360 degrees, 4 basic directions, north, south, east, or west. But you don't know what you want. You don't have a result or a destination in mind. Well, to avoid what you don't want means you just get up off the center, you get out of the chair in the center of the circle and head in any direction, and at least you're moving, you're doing something, you're getting off dead center, so to speak. But don't you see, at some point, you're going to have to reorient yourself and find a point on the horizon to move toward. Otherwise, you just race around like a rat in a box trying to make sense out of direction. And, of course, it doesn't make sense. You have to find a point on the horizon to move toward. Now, there are times in our lives where I think we just have to leap to get off dead center and move in any direction. But wouldn't it be nice to have an outcome in mind before you begin to even move toward it? And that's the demand that life requires: specific, detailed, clear goals, solutions, desired outcomes. Now, Steve will jump in and tell us it's okay to take a risk because we can change our minds as we get closer.
That's right. The point of goal is not like a target, like you're an arrow that has to hit that target. We're guided missiles. We can course correct. We can change direction. We can change targets. We can change our mind. The point is, if I don't know what I want exactly, then I don't know what direction I'm going to stay right here. I'll have no motivation. I'll have no inspiration to get moving. So let's say you sort of know what you want. I remember when I was in my early 20s when I did this exercise. I know what I want. I want the perfect career for me. That's what I want. I don't know if I could define it totally, but I knew I wanted to move in the direction of creating the perfect career for me. And so I started to look at my talents and my gifts and my abilities and what I'd done before and what I saw other people do and that I admired. And I started thinking about, gosh, what I'd really love to do, of course, is to get up in front of people and talk, and the more influential and the more powerful the people, the better. And so I started thinking about, wouldn't it be cool to talk to presidents of companies all over the world? And I started to hone in on, well, wait a minute, how much actual travel time do I want to spend on the road? And what number of talks do I want to do? And what subjects do I want to talk about? I didn't have a clear-cut idea at first. I had this vague notion. I wanted the perfect career for me. And then I started to think about what that would be. And it's kind of like drawing a pencil outline on a canvas of what the picture is going to be, sort of vague, and then you start to color it in. So that's what you do. If you know what you want, sorta, you can't say I don't know what I want. I know what I want. I want the perfect career, or I want the perfect marriage, or the best possible marriage. If you have an idea of what you want, I want to be very healthy, then you start filling in the details. You don't have to know the details at first. You start filling in the details, and the clearer the picture becomes, the more clear the bullet. It's kind of like tuning in the microscope. The clearer the picture comes. But all you need to know is the vague idea of that picture to be able to figure out, what step do I need to take? What one step do I need to take in that basic direction? So if you're in the middle of that 360 degrees, or those 4 quadrants of 90 degrees each, north, south, east, and west, which way do I go, north, south, east, or west? All you need to know is for example, if it's your career, you got to know just 2 things. You got to know how to get rid of half of the jobs that are available so you can focus in on half of them. And then you got to get rid of half of those so you can focus in on a quarter of them, and then you've got your direction. So you ask yourself, for example, I did this in an earlier show, you ask yourself, do I want to work for myself or do I want to work for somebody else? And let's say you do want to work for yourself. Well, there's half gone and half remaining. Okay, I definitely want to work for myself. Do you want to spend most of your time with people or most of the time by yourself? Oh, I want to spend most of my time with people. Okay, now you've got it down to a quarter. Now, any job that doesn't include working for yourself with people most of the time, you throw out. And now you can start taking a step in the direction of a job that does mean that. And then you ask yourself, how many hours a day do I want to work? How far do I want to drive? What kind of people do I want to work with? And you start filling it in as you go.
The importance of setting goals in order to have a direction, how could you have a path if you didn't first have a goal, can be illustrated in a discussion I had not long ago with a fella over the idea of happiness being the way. You've heard Steve and I say this, and gosh, it's really an old idea that there is no way to peace. Peace is the way. There is no way to be happy. Happy is the way to create these other goals and successes. And yet this fella engaged me. He had a tough time with the idea that happiness was not a goal. And I said, well, then what happens when you get there? He said, I'm just going to be happy. And I said, how long do you think that'll last without setting new goals? And he didn't concede the point to me, but I can understand how happiness would appear to be a goal, all right, or that any step forward toward a goal, any part of that direction could be seen as an outcome, like I took that one step. Ta-da! I made it. I attained my goal. The problem is you got to take another step and then another step. And when you have lofty goals that are detailed, lucid, specific, you're much less likely to get confused about the difference between a tactic and a strategy. It was funny, Obama and McCain debated that last year in one of their debates. Does he know the difference? And they went back and forth on that. It's a discussion that's good to have, right? A tactic is part of a larger strategy, and a direction, or those steps that may make you happy and may create some mini results, are still part of the larger plan to attain the lofty goal. And guess what? Even when you get to the greatest goal of goals, even when, it's time for the Olympics, you got to set more goals, because life is growth and it's perpetual, and there is no there. Whatever is the there we're trying to get to, it's got to be part of even a larger process of unfolding. I like that term, unfolding.
Yeah, unfolding and awakening are my two favorites, I guess, because that's what it's all about. So let's say you do know what you want. You at least have a pretty good notion of what you want, and you've got it down so that you could name some aspects of it. You can describe it a bit. Whether if it's about your career, maybe you can name the exact job you want, or maybe you can say, well, the career path I want has these particular aspects to it. Clear enough to set a goal. So what do you do then? Once you do know what you want, well, that's when the magic of the mind comes in, because what you do is you create your mind, you program your mind to create it, and you do that by using the power of suggestion, one of the most powerful forces in the known universe, the power of suggestion. And we've put it down to basically 4 rules of suggestion, 4 laws of suggestion, the 4 P's of programming the mind. What you must do once you do know what you want, is you must imagine what you want, positive, as if you've already got it, present tense. You've got to do it over and over and over again with persistence or perseverance or practice. And finally, you have to do it with great passion. Positive, present tense, practice, and passion. Those are the 4 P's. You must imagine what you do want as if you've already got it over and over again. And even if you don't really believe it's going to happen, even if you think it just might happen, you pretend it's going to happen. You act as if it, you fake it till you make it. You imagine it is happening, and you imagine it's wonderful, and you imagine it with great passion.
Motivation is a fascinating art, and I think it is more art than science. It certainly fascinates me. I did a motivational workshop for a water company. It was one of the big ones in Southern California. If I said its name, you would know the bottled water. That's what they do, provide bottled water to people's houses. And I did this motivation, and it was all about you can lead a horse to water. And I didn't say the second part. It was obvious enough. Everybody knows the axiom, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And I thought it was sort of clever given the audience, people that sell bottled water and are part of the management team to do that. And what I pointed out was how we get trapped by these mental cages that we put ourselves in. Like, this is the essence of motivation. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And what I led up to was, but you can make him thirsty. And then we talked about how is it that something like this saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, would get into the vernacular without somebody saying, well, wait a minute, couldn't you motivate him further by making him thirsty? Every bartender knows why there's salted peanuts for free on the bar, right? So we became fascinated.
I never thought of that.
You did?
I don't go into bars, but of course, I never put that together. Salted, of course, that's why they have salted. I thought people were just hungry, but that makes sense. Never thought of that.
Yeah, just to make him thirsty. So the same thing with a horse. Why don't we think of that? I think it's because we're confused about the nature of motivation and goals, and that these critical thinking skills that you and I are exploring in this 3-part mini-series are not really taught very well. So, again, what am I saying? You've got to have goals. Do you know that 85% of business people do not have personal goals? And there are many businesses where the executives won't even set quotas or goals for the business. It's crazy. How can your dreams come true if you don't have any?
And why is it you think people don't have goals? I mean, why is it that people are terrified of doing that? I think it's real simple. It's fear of disappointment. It's they have it in their mind that if I set a goal and I don't achieve it, my life will be worse than if I don't set a goal at all. That's really silly. Think about that. That's really silly. Because if you end up at the same place, let's say you end up at the same place, you have a goal and you don't achieve it, or you don't have a goal and you end up at the same place. If you had a goal and you were moving in the direction of it, you would be happy on the way. If you didn't have a goal, then you wouldn't. So you end up in the same place, but with goals, you're happy on the way because you feel like you're doing something. You feel like you're accomplishing something. You feel like, even if you don't totally get there, at least you're feeling like you're fulfilling what your destiny. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Whereas if you're aimlessly moving through life, not sure what you want, not sure what to do next, then, well, I don't know too many people who do that are really happy. Happiness almost always has some component of feeling like you're on target.
Well, your P's, to go over those again. So the goal is the positive, the present tense. It's happening now. That's the motivation. That's the emotional impact. I mean, you mentioned the 4th P is passion. That's another way of saying the same thing. I'm doing it now. I'm in the process. How could you be disappointed? You haven't got there yet, but you're in the process of moving toward it. What if you had a bad month? People come to me and they say, well, I'm so depressed and I'm not motivated and I can't seem to get anything done. I'm so overwhelmed. And I said, what if every day you just did one little thing? All right. You're incapacitated. I hear that. So on this day, you just do one little thing. You make one phone call that allows you to feel productive. You send one email. You write one letter. You pay one bill. You do one, that will jumpstart them because they can't object to doing one little. Well, at the end of the month, then you've done 30 little things and
probably 50 or 100.
Yeah,
actually.
That's exactly the point, just to get them moving. So this fear of disappointment, or maybe it's a fear of success. It's an interesting box. Like, if you are successful, are you afraid that blows your cover and now you'll have to be successful in all other areas? And so you're going to hedge your bets and be mediocre, be the C student that everybody likes, not too smart, not too stupid. I don't know. I'm hooked on the idea of good to great, always being better and better, learning from your mistakes, unfolding. That, to me, is, again, dynamic success, unfolding, continual, perpetual success.
Yeah, it's a process, and it leads to fulfillment. I mean, success is sort of empty if it doesn't lead to something else. And the thing it leads to that makes us feel fulfilled is including the rest of the world, including other people in our success and helping.
We're talking about our slogan. I didn't
there
even
you go.
realize
Yeah, growth,
that.
success, and fulfillment. So let's say you know what you want in those few most important areas of life. You know what you want in primary relationship. You know what you want in your career. You know what you want in your health. You know what you want in want in your finances, and you know what you want in terms of your kids or your extended family and, pets and all that. So you know what you want in the most important areas of your life. You don't have all the details, but you've got a pretty clear picture, or in any one of those. So here's what you do. You've got that in your mind. Now, do you have it as a picture in your mind? Or do you have it as, like, you could describe it? Is it words in your mind? Or it's just a sense, a feeling of what it is? How is that clear to you in your mind when you think about exactly what you want? If you're a visual person, you might see it. An auditory person might be able to describe it. A kinesthetic person would sort of like step into it and feel it. However you experience it, that's what you're shooting for. That's how to train your brain. That's the bullseye. That's the target. That's what we want to aim for. So what you do is you close your eyes, you take a deep breath, and you take yourself to your peaceful place, to your paradise place, and you imagine what you do want. You imagine that, as if you've already got it. You don't imagine it's some future, I'm going to have it. You imagine it's happening right now, present tense. You imagine what you do want as if you've got it right now, and you imagine if it were true, if it actually were true and you did have it right now, how would that feel? And then exaggerate that and make it feel even better than that. Imagine what you do want as if you've already got it and make it feel really good, and do that a bunch of times. Do that as many times. A bunch of times is much more important than for a long time. If you do that for 10 minutes, that's only one repetition. If you do it for 10 seconds, you can do it 60 times in 10 minutes, and that's 60 repetitions. That's the way the mind works. Imagine what you do want as if you've already got it, over and over again, with great passion, positive, present practice and passion. And it doesn't matter if you know all the details, because that will get your mind moving toward it, and the details will come as you move in the direction. The truth is, you may not have all the data you need right now to know exactly what you want, but every step you take toward that could unfold new information and new experiences to add to the picture.
An example I've used a lot of times, and I'm going to use it again because it's really a good one. Backpacking, it's not uncommon, at least in the Sierras in California, to come upon a stream where there is no little footbridge. You're pretty far away from the roads. And so you're going to have to traverse the stream on these rocks. And as a beginner, I would stand on the shore and try to figure out the path before I got to the other side, before I even began, right? I'd say, well, sort of like connect the dots. If I jump to there and then there and then there. And I'm doing this one time, and this fellow comes up behind me and just walks across the darn river, choosing the stones as he goes. In other words, I'm looking at the rock as if each one of those is a goal. He's looking at the other side of the river, and he's already there before I found the path. Plus, I realized my perspective will change once I get out there. Those rocks that might look far away get a whole lot closer once you're on top of them. So just go for it. Sometimes it's just a matter of, paralysis by analysis, and you just got to take a breath and let go. Think clearly, relax, and then go for your desired outcome. And don't get hung up on making every little step a separate goal unto itself.
Now, why would this work? Why would the mind move in the direction you want just because you simply imagined it? Because it's just your imagination. It's not real. You're pretending in your mind. Well, part of you knows that, but the truth is part of you doesn't. You see, the subconscious part of your mind doesn't know the difference between real and imaginary. And when the subconscious mind imagines what it wants as if it already has it right now over and over again, and when it imagines it's actually there, it really believes it is. This is the part of the mind that takes over in the movie theater. The part of the mind, the part of you knows you're in a movie theater, but that part goes away, and the part that doesn't remember is in a movie theater and gets into the movie and gets excited, and the heart beats fast, the adrenaline flows, and all that. This is that part doesn't know. The part that dreams at night, that part doesn't know. So that part really believes that thing you have in your mind is what you really want. It really believes you've got it. So what happens is it like really enjoys that. It really loves the way that feels. And then you wake up, and it goes, hey, who took that from me? I had that a minute ago. That felt better than this feels. I want that back. And this is the nature of motivation, moving toward what you do want. There's only two reasons we move: away from what we don't want, away from pain, and toward pleasure. Well, this is the toward pleasure one. It felt better a minute ago when it had this other thing attained, and now it doesn't. And it goes, well, I like that better. I want that back. And that's what causes you to take the step to move toward getting it back.
Every religion says in one way or another, and virtually all philosophies as well, that human beings are in the image somehow of their creator, and further long to know that source again. Now, what it means to be in the image of the Creator could be many things, but what if it's most simply to be creative? What if there is something about our nature that really demands that we grow, that we heal, that we evolve, that we change, that we improve, not just random change or lateral change, but this improvement, this refinement? I certainly sense that. I look around and I see everything not only cycling, the idea in Taoism of the yin and the yang, and the in-breath and the out-breath, the seasons of all things mentioned in Ecclesiastes, turn, turn, turn. I see that, but I also see an upward spiral. I see a round and around that goes up at the same time and gets better, and I think we're built for that. And as I said a moment ago, we have this longing, this yearning to be more, to discover who we really are. So again, whatever the nature of the goals that you're setting to solve the problems, or whatever your ideas of success in the material world, so that you might benefit from this program, that all of that is really symbolic or allegory for the real satisfaction that you're going to get from setting, moving toward, and attaining goals, so that you then set new goals and continue that process, that's emotional and maybe even spiritual. There's something very fulfilling about this whole process. Again, we touched on it, but our slogan at focusedpassion.com is really just 3 words: growth, success, and fulfillment. Do you see that as a process? Growth leading to success, leading to fulfillment. It's not like growth stops at success. It continues through success. And when it gets to fulfillment,
it goes right back to growth.
That's exactly right.
You know, it's funny how it just keeps circling around, because then once you feel fulfilled, you begin to grow some more. Now, you know, here's what's really important. If you do know what you want, you now have a methodology of getting it. You close your eyes, you take a deep breath, you go to your peaceful place, and you imagine what you want as if you've already got it over and over again with great passion. It's real simple, but make sure that what you say you want is in fact what you want. You know, the next week's show is going to be about when you don't know what you want. I'm saying challenge the authority of your ego mind that thinks it knows what it wants, because maybe you don't really know what you want, or maybe what you think you want isn't really in your best interest. So it's important to really get clear on, is this really what you want? And I'd challenge you to take a step farther and ask yourself, what do you want the most? I mean, that's really what do you want don't hold back. The goal should be this side of impossible, because the mind won't move toward the impossible, but it'll work its tail off for the highly unlikely. You know, I mean, the mind doesn't care much about the odds. It cares about the size of the prize. That's why nobody really cares much about winning a coin flip, but everybody loves to win the lottery, even though the idea never happens. So the mind will move with great passion toward something it thinks is possible, something that's conceivable, able to be conceived. Set the goals really, really high. I have 2 huge goals in my life: the gentle overthrow of the school system and to be the world's greatest husband. I mean, it doesn't really matter if either gets accomplished in my lifetime. What matters is I'm on the path to both of them. That's the bottom line. So what do I want the most? The mind will really be much more excited by a huge goal because it's not moved. The mind, the heart, they're not moved by small goals. They're not moved by small outcomes. They crave great, wonderful things. You know, Paul Simon line, the thought that life could be better is woven indelibly into our hearts and our brains. We want to be better, and we want to be the best we can be. We want to be the flower that blossoms into the most beautiful flower it can be. So don't hold yourself back just because you don't think you can achieve those great goals. It's not about achieving them. It's about having them as the bullseye so you can allow yourself to get as close as you can possibly get.
Yeah, nobody ever went to the Olympics shooting for the bronze medal. But if you knew you did your best and you were 3rd in the world, gosh, that's not losing, is it? I don't think so. If you gave it your all.
And it was your best performance of your life. I mean, how could you say that's anything but total success, you know?
Let's do an audio journey,
Yeah.
and we'll install this process now. We'll show you exactly how to do the visualization and creating the passion, all 4 Ps, so that things align in your life. Even while you're sleeping, your mind will be working to create a convergence of factors that promotes the realization of this particular goal or the attainment of this desired outcome. Imagine, even while you're asleep, 24/7, even while you're busy doing other things, some part of your mind is conspiring in miraculous ways. I like the James Allen quotation from his classic As a Man Thinketh, where he says, "Your dreams are the seedlings of reality." If you open up an acorn, you're not going to see a tiny little oak tree in there. You're going to see a nut meat, right? A seed that when you stick it in the ground, heck, you could just step on the thing and hope it gets enough water. It knows how to become an oak tree, and your thoughts, when reinforced by passion in the way we're about to describe, will do exactly the same thing. And what could be more natural?
You know, thinking about that oak tree, just as an aside, I read the other day, this is sort of fascinating. Do you know that the vast majority of the wood that oak tree becomes does not come out of the ground, but rather comes out of the air? So the photosynthesis, most of the actual wood pulls from the air rather than through the roots from the ground. Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah, it is.
I didn't know that. Anyway, but the bottom line is you don't have to know how to become the oak tree. You just have to know that inside of you it knows, and have faith in yourself, have faith in your higher self to know the path. So let's take an audio journey to a place where your higher self emerges, and it knows two things in this case. It knows what you want. If you're in touch with that, then we'll be able to move in that direction. If you don't know what you want, then hang on, folks. Next week, we'll be talking about how to deal with that other question. I don't know what I want. But now, the solution to both comes as you start by taking one slow, conscious, deep breath. And as you release, paradise thinking begins, with a picture or a thought or just a feeling of inner peace. Release.
By reducing and learning to ignore stimulus, everything between your ears changes. The electrochemistry of the brain, the frequency of brain waves, as you begin even now to feel safer and safer and more relaxed. As the emotional nature within you becomes more calm, the mind will quiet in and of itself. Oh, it'll interrupt you every once in a while, but that's okay. Just let it go. Take another slow, deep breath, and as you exhale and feel the letting go in your body, imagine your emotional nature becoming calm like a pool of water when its surface is as smooth as glass. And the mind, similarly, reflects your conscious thoughts, your dreams of goals, of solutions, of desired results and outcomes.
Allow your mind to finish this sentence. One thing I know I want is, and now imagine. Imagine that. Imagine that it's true. Imagine that it's you. Imagine it's who you are. Imagine it's what you already do. That thing that you know that you want to have or do or be, imagine it's true. Now, imagine it's your reality. Make it seem real and let yourself feel the way you would feel if it were. Just pretend that it's true, but inside of you, pretend you're really sure. This is it. This is how it is. This is how it feels. This is wonderful. This is real. Pretend. Act as if. Try it on for size. Imagine it's true. Imagine it's you. And now realize how wonderful it feels pretending that it's real, how wonderful it feels inside. And you did it, you created it, you became it, so there's a sense inside of you of swelling with pride. Swelling, just swelling with pride. Feel that. You imagined what you wanted, and now it's true. Imagine that's happening inside of you. Imagine it's happening, it's true inside, and feel that feeling of swelling with pride. Feel that feeling of swelling with pride.
Give no thought as to how you got here. Consider any thought about how you did it, how you've pulled this off, to be a distraction, something you could dwell upon later when your eyes are open if you wish. But right now, as Steve is describing, just experience already having it, as if you've taken a trip forward in time and are now in possession of this object, this relationship, this circumstance or opportunity, and luxuriate in the wonderful, rich fulfillment of I've already got it. Dare to dream. And if there is a part of you that's at all resistant to experiencing the fullness of attaining it, then take a look at the part that's frightened. It's not afraid of danger. It's just a little confused. It is a part of you that needs some reassurance and maybe a little hug, if you will. But don't ignore it, don't deny it, bring it on board. Even the parts that aren't so sure, even the parts that might find some sort of risk and success, bring those parts in and let all of you, every single part of you, soak up the warmth and the light of having attained this outcome.
And understand that if you've done this well, if you've imagined what you wanted the most, the likelihood of you actually getting there is very, very small. Very small indeed. It doesn't really matter if you actually accomplish the deed. It's the journey. It's traveling in the right direction. It's going along the proper road for you. That's what it's all about. It's not where you get to, because that may change. You can change your mind a bunch of times on the way. And if you've done your best and imagined exactly what you wanted the most, then you're probably not going to get there anyway. Because, if you get close, make something better. It's not about being done. It's about traveling the road that makes your heart soar. It's about traveling the road that brings wings to your mind. It's about traveling the road that makes your soul express itself as feeling free. It's about moving in the direction toward what you want to be. Imagine it's the journey. It's the drive. It's not the destination. It's not where you arrive. It doesn't matter if you get there. What matters is you love the time on the way. So, once you have the destination, you just drive. You just drive yourself away. As long as you're going in the right direction, you'll be happy on the way.
Imagine this experience could be symbolized by a single seed or a magic bean that you plant in the fertile earth, and the ground is warm as you press it gently down upon the seed and sprinkle just the right amount of water with your watering can. And you stand up and you dust yourself off and take a couple of steps back, knowing that that seed now, with the magic of soil and air and sunlight, the magic of day and night, temperature changes, that seed knows exactly how to become its destiny and bring forth blossom and more seed to repeat the process. And as you turn and walk away, feel a letting go, as if you've turned your whole process over to nature. Now, you will continue to be deliberate in the actions you take, but they'll be less about making it happen and more about preparing to receive this already done deal. Carry that positive attitude gently with you, knowing that your goal is guaranteed. And in addition to getting what you want, don't be surprised if you get what you need.
So as it feels comfortable to you, reorient yourself to the space that you're in. Come from this state of narrow awake as you take one deep breath and bring yourself back to wide awake. Back to wide awake, alert, aware, feeling rested, feeling wonderful, feeling clear. You know, I have a challenge. I have a challenge for the pessimists out there who are afraid to do this. You know, like, wait a minute, I don't want to think about what I really want the most, you know, because I'll never get that, and why should I set myself up for disappointment? For you pessimists, you're right. You're never going to get this. So there is no disappointment. It's not. Don't have your heart set on actually getting it, because you won't. Make it so great that the likelihood of you getting is so remote that you won't get attached to it. But give your mind the direction it needs to go, because I'm sure you do believe you deserve at least part of the way there. You deserve to achieve at least part of that goal. So for you pessimists, set the goal so high you know you won't achieve it, but it gives your mind a clear direction, and then begin the journey. And you'll be free of the fear of disappointment because you won't be attached to the outcome. That's the problem with disappointment, is we get attached to this outcome and we think if we don't get it, it's going to hurt real bad. Well, you know you're not going to get it. What you're looking for is enjoying the ride.
Well, success can be scary. It's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it, right? Some poor kid from the barrios of Hawaii growing up in the south side of Chicago has to be the president of the United States, right?
Yeah, somebody said a great line. I mean, it's so wonderful that Obama's president, but it's kind of like seeing a tortoise on a post, you know, like you walk by, you go, how did that get there? You know, yeah. It's like, who'd have thought, how'd that get there? It's cool that it's there, but how'd that get there?
A tortoise on a post, that's a funny vision. Hey, thanks for listening to this program, and we want to thank you not only for being contributors at FocusedPassion.com, but even more importantly, contributing the programs to the people that you know who can really benefit from it. In many cases are looking for exactly this kind of information. Share what you care about. Use the Send One to a Friend gadget on both the Focus Passion site and the Ageless Wisdom site, too, so that we can get this information out. This frees people. This is liberty in thinking, in feeling, in attaining goals. You know, you love it. You're here. You're listening. Share it without any additional cost with as many people as you can, as often as you'd like. And I think you can imagine some of the benefits that will accrue to you as a result of doing that in a selfless kind of a way.
And remember, if you have no idea what you want, tune in next week, because that's what we're going to be talking about in the third and concluding episode of this What Do You Want miniseries.
And we'll talk about why we've chosen this order also. The first part, why do you want the things that you want? This program, well, what do you do if you do know what you want? How do you move toward that? And then why did we say for third? Well, what if you don't know what you want? Tune in next week. We'll have the answer for you. Multiple answers, as a matter of fact. As always, be gentle, love life, and take care of each other. For Steve Snyder, this is Michael Benner from Maui. Aloha.